Hi, and welcome to the Wednesday Word. This is a mother's story. We were the only family with children in the restaurant. I sat Eric in a high chair and noticed everyone was quietly eating and talking. Suddenly, Eric squealed with glee and said, "Hi there!" He pounded his chubby baby hands on the high chair tray. His eyes were wide with excitement and his mouth was barred in a toothless grin. He wriggled and giggled with merriment. I looked around and saw the source of his merriment. It was a man with a tattered rag of a coat, dirty, greasy, and worn. His pants were baggy and his toes poked out of would-be shoes. His shirt was dirty and his hair was not combed and probably unwashed. His whiskers were too short to be called a beard, and we were too far from him to smell, but I was sure he smelled. His hands waved and flapped and kept saying, "Hi there, baby. Hi there, big boy. I see you, Buster," the man said to Eric. My husband and I exchanged looks. What do we do? Well, Eric continued to laugh and answer, "Hi, hi there." Everyone in the restaurant noticed and looked at us and then at the man. The old man was creating a nuisance with my beautiful baby. Our meal came and the man began shouting from across the room, "Do you know Patty Cake? Do you know Peekaboo? Hey, look, he knows Peekaboo." Nobody thought the old man was cute. He was obviously drunk. My husband and I were embarrassed. We ate in silence, except Eric, who was running through his repertoire for the admiring Skid Row bum, who in turn reciprocated with his cute comments. We finally got through the meal and headed for the door. My husband went to pay the check and told me to meet him in the parking lot. Well, the old man sat poised between me and the door. "Lord, just let me get out of here before he speaks to me or Eric," I prayed. As I drew closer to the man, I turned my back to sidestep him and avoid any air he might be breathing. As I did, Eric leaned over my arm, reaching with both arms in a baby's pick-me-up position. Well, before I could stop him, Eric had propelled himself from my arms to the man's. Eric, in an act of total trust, love, and submission, laid his tiny head upon the man's ragged shoulder. The man's eyes closed, and I saw tears hover beneath his lashes. His aged hands, full of grime, pain, and hard labor, gently, so gently, cradled my baby and stroked his back. No two beings have ever loved so deeply for so short a time. I stood there awestruck. The old man rocked and cradled Eric in his arms for a moment, and then his eyes opened and set squarely on mine. He said in a firm, commanding voice, "You take care of this baby." Somehow I managed, "I will," from a throat that contained a stone. He pried Eric from his chest unwillingly, longingly, as though he were in pain. I received my baby, and the man said, "God bless you, ma'am. You've given me my Christmas gift." I said nothing more than muttered thanks. With Eric in my arms, I ran for the car. My husband was wondering why I was crying and holding Eric so tightly and why I was saying, my God, forgive me." I had just witnessed Christ's love shown through the innocence of a tiny child who saw no sin, who made no judgment. A child who saw a soul and a mother who saw a suit of clothes. I was a Christian who was blind, holding a child who was not. I felt it was God asking, "Are you willing to share your son for a moment?" when he shared his for all eternity. The ragged old man, unwittingly, had reminded me, to enter the kingdom of God, we must become as little children. How did we get this far from the innocence of a child? What has clouded our vision, our thoughts, and our lives that we assume before we see, we decide before we understand, and we judge before we know? In Matthew chapter 18, Jesus tells us, I assure you that if you don't turn your lives around and become like this little child, you will definitely not enter the kingdom of heaven. Those who humble themselves like this little child will be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. Something to think about. Sounds like good advice to me. Have a thoughtful week.